at all, but you've done an awful lot of work on it.
I'm a synth nerd.
Huh?
I'm a synth nerd.
You're a synth nerd? Yeah. But no, it's incredible. It's well stabilized now, and the confidence that it gives the musician is really, really amazing. You know, in the early days, I would go on stage and put a note down and not wonder if it was going to be in tune or whatever, or just tune it up on the way. And Gershon Kingsley, I think, was in the audience at a gig in Gaelic Park, way in the early 70s. And I had Bob Moog on stage. He hid behind the Marshall speakers. And I just kept looking around at him, and he was just laughing his head off. He couldn't believe it, you know. And it got towards the end of our performance. Now, Gaelic Park is, it's got porta bins, you know, like toilets, you know, all the way round. Well, it did have them. And up above, there was this sort of like railroad track where the trains came in and did a complete reversal. So there's all this clattering of trains and clattering of the porta bins being shut. And there at the end of the show, there I am sort of, as I was prone to do, sticking knives in my organ. And Gershon Kingsley was seen wandering around going, "It's the end of the world." So that was a story that Bob loved to tell. Anyway, I'm very proud that and thanks to Gene to establishing this, we're able to move on, and I think we have something here, don't we? I think that's enough from me.
I think before we talk about this, the reason for this is folks like Herb and Keith, and the real thing that this is really about is honoring the contribution of these tremendous artists, not only to the evolution of the technology, which we are still evolving today, but also to just art and music. And like most of you, I can remember the first time I heard that Lucky Man solo and how it changed me and then all your music. So this synthesizer represents so much to all of us, just beyond the instrument itself. And one of the things that Keith touched upon is the word problems. And as he said, it started from this single unit, and as Keith started exploring its possibilities, as he said, I need this, I need to be able to tune it. So we had Bob added a frequency counter, presets, sequencers, more low frequency oscillators, and the system grew and grew. And thanks to the effort of people like Gene, it's still growing. And so we really primarily, first and foremost, want to honor, thank, and appreciate the huge contributions of these incredible people that we still have great relationships with, like Herb and Keith. So I want to And we're still trying to solve all those problems today, and we're still approaching our instruments in the very same way that Bob did 50 years ago, so very much based on control voltage and the idea of giving the musician the ability to use their imagination, their inspiration to create the sounds that we can't even imagine being created from them. And I think some of those stories are very emblematic of that. So why did we do this? It's really because of these folks. And so I will pull this apart and introduce one of our latest projects, but a huge one. Yes. I want to introduce the Emerson Moog Modular system, and what we've done is through years of really painstaking research, and Keith already introduced Gene Stoppas. Keith, Gene, come up again. Gene, as you said, is a self-professed synth nerd. We call him now the Moog, the engineering manager for this project, because Gene knows Keith's system probably better than just about anybody in terms of the electronics and the maintenance of it. Has been kind of a caretaker of the instrument for quite a few years. Has an extremely close relationship to Keith. In addition, unfortunately, Brian Kehew, who is also a very, very, very key part of this story, and this wouldn't have ever happened without him. He's, as Mike said, I came aboard when Bob got sick, and Brian was one of the first people I met, and Brian is just a world expert, incredible musician, but also a synthesis and expert in the history of electronic instruments, but particularly the Moog synthesizers. And the last time we were hanging out together, we were in a studio, and he was pulling out all these brochures, all these old Moog brochures, and he said when he was a kid, you know, he didn't have any money to buy instruments, and so he'd go to the stores and he would ask if they had any extra brochures. So from when he was a kid in the 60s, you know, he still has all these brochures that it's just incredible that his imagination at that point wasn't. And so he's had this lifelong journey, and an incredibly generous person, and he can't be here because he is in England doing some talks at Abbey Road Studios. I really wish he was talking right now, not me. But Gene and Brian have had a long-term collaboration too, and we kind of joined forces to create this synthesizer, which is as faithful a recreation of Keith's system as absolutely possible. And as I say, we got, you know, it's based on original artwork from PCB films. Where there wasn't original artwork, Gene spent hours and hours recreating, you know, the actual traces of these circuit boards down to, we'll just say, pixels from using the modern era. And original films for artwork for the panels. A lot of these components haven't been made for years and years. Gene spent hours sourcing them from all over the world. In some cases, actually having to disassemble components, scrubbing them with steel brushes, reassembling them. So the amount of detail, and I also want to thank the whole engineering team, particularly Rosser Douglas and Eric Church, who I believe are here too, who spent a lot of time helping make this come to fruition, and we just thought it was an incredible opportunity to do this here at Moogfest, have these incredible friends of the company and great artists be here to be part of this celebration. This instrument, I got the extreme privilege of actually, we had him set up in the sound lab, our little sound room over there last week when Gene was tuning instruments. I got the extreme joy and privilege of playing both of them at the same time. I'm sorry. But except when I have to move it maybe. But it was actually very thrilling to be able to play this instrument that has had this you know, almost 50-year life and continues to grow, and play this one which has so much really hard work, dedication, expertise, and inspiration and love put into it, down to the very details. And we're thrilled to be able to release it. I'll just say we'll have some questions. The three most obvious questions I'm going to answer first. We have no idea what this is going to cost. We have no idea when we're going to be able to offer it to people, and we don't know how many we're going to be able to make. Other than that, it's this great effort. But we will achieve all those things. But it was a huge milestone to get this.
It does go to number 11.
Very important. Yeah. So anyway, I want to again thank Herb and Keith, Gene, Brian Kehew, and all the folks at Moog, but also really thank Bob, who really inspired this whole journey. And again, not only for his technical prowess, but for who he was as a person and his attitude towards life. And I think these folks can talk to that better than anybody. So thank you all so much for being here, being part of the festival, and if we have a few minutes for questions, we're happy to answer them.